Today we have a special guest, Maria Gallucci, who has written our book of the month here, Raised in Silence. Thank you for joining us, Maria.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So excited to welcome you here. You're the author of this book, Raised in Silence, Lessons in Listening, Love, and Loud Family Dinners from a Child to Deaf Adult. Maria is a coda, a child of deaf adults, and she grew up in two worlds at once. She learned ASL before she learned English, spent her childhood interpreting for her family, and really became the bridge between her parents' deaf world and the hearing world beyond their front door. And she's gone on to have this incredible career in real estate and has been a fierce advocate for the deaf, hard of hearing, and LGBTQ plus communities. But what really struck me about her book is her motto, just try. And
Mhm.
really,
Mhm.
this beautiful invitation to lean into discomfort, to listen more deeply, and to make space for everyone to belong. And you couldn't be in a better place for that sort of motto. So again, welcome, Maria. We're grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So listen, it's a small group, as we were just talking about before the call. It seems that everybody is ants in the pants into Thanksgiving mode already. People are jumping on planes uh, this Friday before the Thanksgiving week. But you know, we're happy to have everybody who's joined today. So I've with that, I do have a list of questions, you know, in sort of proper book club guest mode fashion here, but we can keep this also very open and loose as we always do anyway. Um, but if you're not opposed, why don't I just start with a couple of questions for you, Maria?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. One thing I wanted to ask you is when somebody finishes your book, what do you hope stays with them?
Um, Knowing that everyone is different and that it's okay to be different and just to be inclusive and accepting towards anybody who feels like they're different.
Oh, that's beautiful. And when did it click with you that this was a book, that this was not just your story?
I think growing up like in the deaf and hard of hearing or like community, you're left out a lot and you're kind of like cast the outsider or the the outcast. And so I think seeing my parents like grow up and us too being made fun of growing up and people not understanding that it's different, but it's okay to be different, and then people just not trying with them. Like if they can't understand you, they'll just walk away and not even try to help
Mm.
you. And so the I was thinking for years and years, like I want to write a book that can help people be aware and try to be inclusive with any kid community, not just the deaf and hard of hearing community, but a lot of places don't even provide interpreters. And so I think that being inclusive was a huge thing of me growing up. And so I thought that if we can try to help people and try to make people like included in things, that it would make a big difference on their life, like just having that connection.
Yeah, so it sounds like more of a global calling that you felt like
Yes,
the story,
yeah.
you know, really relevant. Yeah, good. Well, thank you for that. And you definitely I can see that in what you've written here in the book. The effort shines right through. Um, in the book, you step into adult responsibilities early. And how did that shape the roles that you default into today? And which of those roles, you know, from your childhood, have you chosen to maybe retire?
Having empathy. And so I think that I connect a lot with my clients because I know what it feels like to be different, and I know what it feels like to be an outsider. So for me, communication is very important to me. And so I can feel their emotions, like I can feel like how they're feeling. So I believe the world would feel more inclusive, like compassionate and connective, like connected towards other people if we would just have compassion towards people. And I feel like we always are either on our phones, not back then, but like now we're either on our phones. If someone's talking to you, which you can't do in sign language because you have to be looking at each other and talking to them. So I think that it makes it more of a connection to the other person. And I have always brought that into my bit business.
Hmm. Oh, that's a great answer. Thank you. And curious, so growing up, when did you first realize that your family's quote unquote normal wasn't everybody else's normal?
I think that for me, it felt completely normal to me as a kid because that's how I was raised. And ASL is my first language, and we didn't learn to speak until we were like 5 or 6. Like my sister Ursula didn't even speak till she was 7 or 8. And so I think my first being that with my the first language, the home was filled with so much more visual expressive communication, and there were so much or like depth and presence into our stuff. And so when we went to school and people were talking to their parents, but we couldn't because we would have to sign.
Mhm.
And I think that's where I first realized, oh wait, not everybody signs. Like we're actually outside of it. Like everyone else can talk and we can't.
Uh-huh. And I'm just speculating here, and also just based on reading your book, it seems that this is something that you really took on as kind of more of a superpower, not as something like a deficiency, but more of a bonus. Am I wrong?
Oh, exactly. To me, I see it as such a gift because it taught me empathy, resilience, and how to really show up for people and how to listen to them and actually make them feel seen and heard.
Incredible. So we've read some books in this book club, and we talk quite a bit about communication and communication styles and empathy as well. There was a book that we read called Never Split the Difference, you may have heard of, just based on tactical empathy. So it's a form of listening and asking questions. But along these lines of communication and listening, and this comes from Super Communicators, which is a book that we read, and it talks about, folks either want to be held, heard, or hugged.
Hmm.
But you grew up reading expressions and tone as much as words. And what, for you, what makes in your mind, what makes you feel or what makes someone feel truly understood from your vantage?
Listening with your whole heart, like not just acting like you're listening or doing something on your phone or doing something on your computer. But if you're there and you're present for them, I think that makes a big difference with a lot of people.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
Just
I can
being
see it right
present.
now. We're
Yeah.
even on Zoom call, and I can already I can feel and sense your sensitivity. And so I imagine that being physical, like forward facing, maybe squared off with somebody is really important.
Yeah. Even now, like even when I sit next to somebody, I can't be like right directly next to them. I always turn my chair. So
Uh,
I'm like, so I can actually see them. And it's really hard for me to communicate with people with sunglasses on because I can't see their expressions and I can't feel like what they're feeling. But I'm a really good reader on people's emotions. That's for sure.
right. So your other senses are probably very highly attuned, right? I mean, your visual sense, as you mentioned, with sunglasses, like you're looking for a lot of nonverbal cues from folks when you're communicating them, just as a form of just this is just your style of communicating with people, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I can tell, like, even with my deaf and hard of hearing clients, if we walk into a home, like I can immediate tell, even with people who are hearing, I can tell right away if they do not like the house because I can feel their presence, I can feel their energy, and I can tell, okay, they do not like this.
That's incredible. Yeah, I love that. Was I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, although I'd love to go deep on that as well. Was there a story that you were scared to include in your book, but you knew that you had to?
Probably stuttering because that's more like a
Mm.
my like insecurity because I actually stutter. I've always stuttered since I was a kid. And so I had to go to speech therapy, but I don't stutter when I sign, which I find unusual. So I like feel more comfortable, I think, signing with a lot of people than I do actually communicating because I started.
Got it. Okay. And uh, just to piggyback on that, what emotion was the hardest to give yourself permission to feel when writing this book?
That that's a really good question. And when I was writing the book, because this is like 15 years in the making, so I like had it on my New Year's resolution list every year. And then finally that this year I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to get it done. And I think it was going back to childhood, actually,
Mm,
thinking about it's weird how the mind, like you don't really remember stuff. I don't know if you guys all agree, but from your childhood. So when you're going through like stories and things from your child, you're like, oh, I completely forgot about that. And that, so I think that's what it was. And especially with like telling my mom that she had terminal cancer because there wasn't interpreters back then.
mm,
And I think it brought a lot of emotions and feelings from that aspect.
yeah. Yeah, that's got to be incredibly challenging. Um, I can't imagine. So Malene asked a question, what does stuttering look like when you're signing? Is that something you can?
They do they like go like this
Oh,
like
really?
they yeah
So
yeah
there's a
yeah it's just like
physical.
you're like thinking and then you start signing.
Okay. Is that common?
I know a few people who do, but I do sign super fast too, where a lot of people slow down, and I don't know if that has anything because they said that I stuttered because my brain's thinking faster than my words can come out.
Sure.
But and I wonder if that's why I sign so quickly because I always sign like very fast. And everyone's like, okay, you have to slow down.
I'm curious to know along these lines if you see that physicality manifest in just a form of habit, like not unlike a lot of us verbally have these habits or tics.
Mhm.
Do you see that? Is that a common thing with signing?
Yeah, that would be one of them is when they like go like this when they're like thinking
Uh, okay.
of a word or what they're going to say. So yeah, that 1000% can be.
Uh, okay, great. Well, listen, I have some other questions, but I kind of you were just like right there with me. Great answers to the questions. Thanks for sticking there with me. But I want to open it up to the group because I know folks, have a lot of great questions and have read the book, so would like to discuss it with you.
I agree.
And folks, just jump on in here.
Okay, I've got a whole bunch.
Uh,
Um, Nice to see you again. This is take three for me, Maria. I think
And nice to
6
see you
a.m.ers
again.
and skies, and this is wonderful to have you back. Um, One of my favorite quotes was, "When it comes down to it, we all want to be understood universally across the board." I love that. Um, I actually had, and I have no idea what I'm asking, so I'm a little embarrassed asking it this way. But if you're in the blind community, is there any crossover in the communities?
The school actually is the deaf and blind school. And then
Okay,
so yeah, so the Chamber of Commerce as well is the deaf, hard of hearing, and blind. And so it they do go hand in hand. My parents actually had two deaf and blind friends, and I still remember having to like sign in their hands. And they know that the signs, like they can understand the signs when you're signing in their hands.
amazing. It's amazing. So then I did write in my questions. Is the book going to come out in Braille or is it already in Braille?
So it is not in Braille yet, but yes, I did ask them to do that. So right now, the audio version should be coming out pretty soon, and then we're going to try to have a Braille one, and also for I think one of the very few, we're going to have somebody actually interpret the book. So we're actually going to have actually a signed book of it too.
That's
Wow.
cool. I was going to ask you about the audio version. Who are you having do your read? Do you know?
So I had yeah, her name was Chanel, and I listened to a lot of people before I had chosen her, and so I wanted somebody who kind of had a voice like me, but was expressive because some of the other ones were not very expressive, and with ASL, like you have to be expressive, and I know that they can't hear the audio, but I wanted to bring that culture into the audio version. So I hope if you guys get it, I hope you guys like it because I tried to pick somebody that would fit directly into that community.
That's great.
And
Thank
I love
you.
the name Chanel, so that was perfect too.
Anybody else? Welcome, Laura. It's good to see you again. Mitra, hi.
Hello. I have a
Mhm.
just quick question. You mentioned that you went to school that some students, talk. So did you go to a special school or it was a mixed school?
We went to like a mainstream school is what
Yes.
they call it. So we were all hearing. But when I actually went to high school, the high school that I went to, coincidentally, was one of only a few that actually had ASL and deaf kids in there. And so I made a lot of deaf friends that way too because I already knew the culture. But now a lot of schools now teach ASL through it, which was not the case back then.
And Maria, before we jumped on the call, you and I were talking about, and Bob, we're talking about
I'm Donnie, issue date.
the demand for agents like yourself who understand sign language. Can you share with the group a little more detail about that?
Yeah, a lot of deaf and hard of hearing community, they're very a tight knit community. And so I've had a lot of clients who've had hearing agents prior to me, and then once, and it just ended up being a disaster because they could never understand them, and they didn't know their culture, they didn't know what they needed, and they would write, but just because you're writing back and forth, you can't feel the emotion and you can't really understand it. And so once they had me as an agent, who I'm fluent in ASL, so I'm even if you're an interpreter or a parent of a deaf kid, it's a deaf child, it's a little bit different when you're a coda because when you're a coda, you're actually raised in that culture and you know like the like slang words and just you know how to connect a little bit. And they said that, oh my gosh, this experience was 100% different than the other one. So it's,
Mhm.
I think to know their world and know what needs that community, like they have to have a deaf friendly home, which means like the kitchen's open to the dining room or open to the living room. So you're able to communicate back and forth while you're having like Thanksgiving and things like that. And a lot of hearing people don't know that because they don't know the culture, which is okay. But so I made ASL Realty to try to find um, agents who can actually sign because I'm
Mm.
nationwide. And so I'm able to cater to anybody nationwide through the referral networks. And so I think I had a client last week, it was in Maryland, and we couldn't find one in there
Mm.
where they were because it was a small town. And she's like, well, no, I only want to want like a ASL agent. But I'm like, okay, well, I'll be there throughout the whole entire thing. Like you can still talk to a hearing person and I'll interpret and not legally, but like the unofficial interpreter. But they just feel more connected and they get taken advantage of a lot. And so for them, it's hard to trust. And I think that if you're in the community and you know and are fluent in ASL, it makes them trust you more.
So do you ever just partner or collaborate with agents, say outside of your state or region, who may have a client who's deaf, hard of hearing, and you become, sort of a co-agent? Do you do that sort of thing, or?
We I've done a lot of referrals that
Okay,
way. So we can't be co-agents only because of
sure.
Compass and we're in different states. But I do have a lot of referrals that we get from that, and that's how we do it. So I have a referral based, like in my Compass CRM, I have agents in there that I've found that actually knows ASL, and then agents who don't know ASL but are willing to help and work with a deaf and hard of hearing person. And then we have the ASL at Compass, the affinity group too.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And I imagine that that doing stuff like this is format of video, like with Zoom or FaceTime, is something that you've been doing for a long time. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the way I communicate with my deaf clients and or hard of hearing is through video phones. So we always do it through like either FaceTime,
Yeah,
video phone. So we're always like talking like face to face.
got it. Yeah,
Hmm.
amazing. I'm curious what you touched on this a little bit before in answering one of my questions, but what could you teach some of us to really pick up on nonverbal, like using our other senses that might be helpful that you see maybe as something that's missed by those of us who depend largely on
I know.
hearing, right?
I think the simple and most powerful thing is to slow down and be like fully present.
Uh,
And like put your phone away if you're with them. Oh, we should do that anyhow if we're communicating, but make eye contact and just listen, not with just like words, but the emotions underneath them. And like, I think that that's how you tell somebody that I see you, like you matter, and I'm here to listen to you.
mhm.
I think something that's different is that when you're talking with someone that's hearing, it's very common that you're not looking at them
Hmm.
because you're just trying to think of the words that you have to say. So you're not making any eye contact. It's very challenging to be signing with someone and not everyone locked in with each other.
Mhm.
It's like you're describing when people are saying goodbye. You know, if you're at a hearing event and someone's leaving, it's just bye.
Yeah, you're like, bye, see you later.
And away you go. In the deaf and hard of hearing community, I do remember this. It's like a ceremony almost with everybody locking
Oh
in.
my gosh, that's the
Yeah.
longest part about
Oh
an
man.
event
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
leaving because
Yeah.
it takes us for I was like being Italian and you're at like spaghetti dinner and you're trying to like leave and no one's leaving. And so no, it takes hours. So plan on if you're there like an hour goodbye because it takes forever to leave.
But that emphasizes how much the communication is really eye to eye, face to
Mm,
face. Whereas um, uh, in the verbal community, whatever we're supposed to, you're just not really always having to look at somebody. You
yeah.
just kind of, off talking about something, and they may or may not be looking at you. We're just hearing, and so there isn't as much really focus on the person. Even, I in the small amount of time I've spent with deaf and hard of hearing, I've noticed how much body language gets into things. It isn't just, a sign. There's like the face, and especially if they don't get what you're saying, like, oh my God, like there's a huge amount of effort. Like, no, 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 no. It's very animated. It's not
It
like
is. Yeah.
just a couple of, you know, um, it's quite. So I think that has a lot to do with you being able to pick up on people.
Yeah, just to pick up on the cues and know like
Mhm.
what is going on. And it's very hard for me to communicate with somebody if they're not looking at you. Uh, the chat.
Yeah, this reminds me that, a challenge for me, especially these days with a lot of my clients, and my wife is also of this type, is those who are on the spectrum and don't make a lot of eye contact. For my wife, it's like incredibly uncomfortable to maintain eye contact socially. And she struggled with this socially, with people. It took a lot for me to learn, to effectively socialize with.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, uh, and I work with a lot of engineers as well, and who are on the spectrum, and I can recognize, some of these same features in their personalities. So yeah, it's we certainly run the gamut in our business of having to tune into people's sensitivities in different ways.
And I think that's where my motto would just try is like it's okay. It gives you like permission to show up without being perfect.
Mhm.
And so I think that if you just try, it makes a complete difference in their world and in their mind.
Yeah. And I think what's incredibly powerful is to depersonalize things too. It's
Hmm.
we like to think that we're the center of attention all the time when people hire us, especially when they express, their need for our services at different points in that relationship. But like you say, if we can slow things down and we can attune to where they're at through the process and relate to them uh, based on their needs and what they're sharing.
Yeah, exactly. And just be like present for them.
I guess one of the issue is that many of us, I mean, we tend to not to listen, I mean, we are listening, but we are thinking of what are we going to answer that person. We are always looking for the answer and to come up with the new ideas. So I know this problem because my daughter has BPD, and I have to, when she talks to me, I have to look at her face, her eyes, and if I change anything in my face, she says, "So, Mom, don't give me any answer. Just listen to me." I said, "Well, I was not planning to give you any answer." But she said, "But the way that you roll your eyes and your mouth open, or, I don't know what I did, it gives her wrong information and makes her
Mhm.
frustrated." So you're right. I mean, we have to look at the person's eyes and pay 100% attention and later to come up with the solution or ideas or comments or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we live in like a fast-paced life, and we don't give ourselves and them enough, like, not really compassion, but just enough leeway to be like, we can take time to just listen and like listen with our whole heart. And then it's not, because one day you might not have it, and that's one thing you don't want, is like to regret anything, in my opinion.
I have to say, Maria, thank you so much for writing this book. I have a lot of deafness in my family, and it's not, they weren't, not on my Italian side, but on my English side. And they weren't born with deafness, they became deaf over
Mhm.
time. So my grandfather towards the end of his life was pretty much completely deaf, but he never learned sign language. He had hearing aids. I'm not sure exactly how effective they were. He did the very effectively the lip reading,
Yeah.
and he was an actor, and so he didn't want it to affect his work in any which way. So he basically learned how to lip read really well. And I was taught as a little girl dealing with him, I was taught to always enunciate and always look at the person in their eyes and enunciate. Like that was a super important thing in my family. Now, so many years later, I have an aunt who's completely deaf. She's even done the cochlear implant surgery, but it hasn't helped a whole lot. My uncle is almost completely deaf. My mom has, issues. I mean, it's it's like, and as far as I know, none of them are learning sign language. They want to try to sort of remain on this side of the world and deal with, you know, um, the hearing world, I guess you could say. And I think, I don't know, because I'm not in their situation, but I've always thought, how incredibly difficult for them to be straddling across these two worlds instead of just saying, hey, I can't hear and I need to sign language. And, you're like, if I'm trying to think about it in terms of if that happened to me, and I need to communicate with my son, I would ask my son, hey, can you learn sign language so we can communicate better?
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess this is their way of dealing with it, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they feel like it's like that's where deaf gain comes into play, because I think that you're not losing something. I think you're gaining like more senses, but it's unfortunate that they don't learn sign language, because you can communicate just as well or even better with ASL or
I
any
guess the
sign
difference is
language.
they are very clearly seeing it, or in their mind, it's a disability.
It's a disability, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So whereas your perspective in your book is clearly not that. And so that,
No, it's not. It's like a gain of all your senses, and a gain of compassion, and like being communicative. And
yeah.
it's a second language. And a lot of parents who have deaf kids don't learn sign language, which I isolates the children. And so, like, imagine just being a child and no, and you can't. My grandparents never knew sign language at all. So both of my parents in their side of their world, I mean, that's very isolating in my opinion, because I would want to be able to communicate with my parents. Even as a hearing child with deaf parents, I always wondered what it would sound like having hearing people. So I can't, or like hearing parents. So I can't even imagine being a deaf child, or like you losing your hearing, like how isolating that can be.
So I really appreciated your perspective.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thank you, Laura. And I want to piggyback on that just because, well, my mother, who's my partner, is hard of hearing. And she has a new hearing aid and she's really resistant to using it. And so this is a personal thing for me because I love my mother and I work with my mother, but I grow very frustrated with her very quickly
Hmm.
because she's hard of hearing. And so maybe tips for me to not get so frustrated. I know that I can also mumble and talk my voice is very low and I can mumble and talk very quickly. So probably slow down is what you'll tell me. And
Yeah,
as Laura said, enunciate.
and enunciate, yeah. And I feel like a
Um,
lot of people even get frustrated with accents too. Like they just
uh,
go frustrated. Like, I don't understand you, but I mean, and that's where the slow down is like, just think of where they're coming from. They're trying, and we just have to be patient and just try to communicate with them.
yeah. And then for myself, I probably am not experiencing the best hearing. I've gone to loud music performances throughout my life and into adulthood, and it wasn't until recent years that I started to use hearing protection. So I know I've had some hearing loss, but I also suffer from what my doctor says it's pretty common. But when I'm in a restaurant or a place that's busy
Hmm.
and there's a lot of stimulus happening, and if there's visual stimulus happening, for the life of me, I have a hard time hearing people. And it's a little bit embarrassing for me, especially well, I won't go into specifics, but it's just kind of embarrassing to continue to say, I'm sorry, or could you say that again? Is there Do you have any cut through that's just that could help me in that way?
I always no, and I know how are you feeling, because I actually have a relative that has that same thing. And so he's been getting like the Bluetooth or whatever to like
Uh,
do it, but he gets really frustrated because he can't
yeah,
hear, and he does feel a bit embarrassed by asking, like, can you repeat yourself? I never have a problem saying that, because I know, because I'm in that community. So for me, I'm like, I'm okay to say, oh, I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself? And I think that if we all of us just try to I think look at everybody from their own perspective, like, because that doesn't feel good to you. So it's okay to ask, because we, as the outsider, should be able to just say, oh, no, no worries. It's okay. Go ahead. And
hmm,
you know what I mean? So I would just, because that probably isn't going to get fixed unless you put a hearing aid in. So I think
yeah,
you can feel confident in your own self, and people on the outside should be able to be like, oh, no, it's okay that, I mean,
yeah.
ask the question.
I think I need to just disabuse myself from this notion that I need to go into a long explanation about my condition, to
Oh, and just like, yeah,
yeah,
just like
just
say
cut to
that.
the chase.
Yeah, like, I can't hear you. Can you please repeat yourself?
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that.
A
Super.
lot of people do have issues though, of that. It's not just you. I know a lot of
No,
people
yeah.
have issues of, especially if it's so loud in there. And I think as a coda, um, it's hard for me if there's a lot of like loud noises and stuff to like hear somebody as well. Like it can't be loud around me because then I can't like hear or concentrate on the person who's talking to me because when you sign, you don't have to hear. And so it's easy to communicate with them, but it's hard for me if I'm in a really loud place to actually like concentrate.
Yeah, wow, I can't imagine. That's a different dynamic altogether.
Oh,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is that we're living in a very loud world.
Hmm.
Like it has become louder and louder. That's kind of how I feel. When I go to restaurants, it's like they're blasting the music, and I tell the servers all the time, and I tell them, kind of half jokingly, I'm like, I know you think I'm 100 years old, but could you please turn the music down? Because I can't hear what
Because
anybody
you
is
can't,
saying.
yeah.
Like it's so loud. And now these new restaurant, like the decor oftentimes is more industrial, and you have these concrete flooring and super high
High ceilings,
ceilings
yeah.
with the ductwork all exposed, and it echoes, everything echoes, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. You can't like hear, like you
All
can't
of
like
this, yeah.
concentrate. You're like, what is going on? Yeah, no. And that's the one, I think one plus, one of the many pluses of knowing ASL is that if it is crazy and loud and I'm with like my siblings, I can actually just sign to them across the table so I don't actually have to like communicate or hear them.
Yeah,
So I have
I
a question for you. Um, do you have kids?
Yes, I have Rian is the one in the book, the gay one, the LGBTQ one. It's
Okay.
actually my son. He's actually the cover.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
a
cool.
lot of people
Just
no,
wondering.
I've never been asked a lot about the cover, but the cover actually has meaning. But yeah, that's actually Rian. That's my
Oh,
son.
that's awesome.
Oh, you should tell them the meaning of the cover. It's beautiful.
So
Yeah.
it actually says deaf in sign language, so it's deaf. And so so that's why one's here and one's here. And so the dark side is for the hearing world who is kind of like not really understanding the deaf culture, and then the light side is the deaf culture bringing out light and vibrance, and then the pink rose over the ear is bringing out the color and the culture of the deaf and hard of and the deaf and hard of hearing community. So it's like light versus dark because they're in the dark and we're in the light.
thank you.
So I guess the question was, do your kids sign language?
So my daughter Jordan, I was a teen daughter or teen mom, and so my mom was still around when Jordan was born. So Jordan actually did know sign language when she was little. That because my mom always babysat her. So my mom passed away when she was 8, and so Jordan never retained it, and and I should have, and that's one of the mistakes that I did was not teaching them sign language. And with Brian, I never taught him sign language. And for me, I can't speak and sign at the same time. So that might have been one of it. So I can't like physically, like interpreters can actually talk and sign at the same time. For some reason, I can't. So when I interpret, I either have to talk and then sign or sign and then talk. And so I think that was also probably one of the reasons why I didn't. But my granddaughter Nova she's the 18-month old and she's actually learning sign language right now. And then Rian took ASL in high school because I'm like, oh, this will be easy because I know ASL, like it'll be easy. And no, it's completely different.
All right.
It seems like something that you have to keep at if you
Mhm.
didn't grow up and learn the language as your first language. Because my sort of fairly brief interaction with the deaf community, I found that they were very accommodating to me making up my own um,
Oh yeah, they're very
signs
patient. Yeah.
signs because I had no idea what it is, and I'm not going to spell everything. and they were very accommodating. And I learned a lot of signs, and then, kind of drifted away from the community and these people. And yeah, I just know a very few things. So it makes me wonder, if I started looking at it again, how quickly would you pick it back up? So,
I
so
know,
I
I
was
wonder
thinking
that
that in
too.
terms of your little girl. Well, she's not a little girl now, but she grew up with her grandmother. With how easy would it be for her to pick it back up again?
To pick it back up, yeah. And
Yeah.
I took Spanish for my parents put us into Spanish from kindergarten all the way until um, senior year of high school. So I took it for 13 years. And I didn't retain any of it because I mean, I can understand people if they're talking, but I there's no way I can have an actual communication with them or like a conversation with them. And but I think that if I would have like used it often, it would have been different. But I never used it, and so I think that I think that you can retain like you're able to hear it because even with my siblings, I'm in the deaf culture right now, so I sign every day, and so but they don't, and I've always wondered like are they going to lose like what
Mhm.
they knew because they don't use it every day?
Uh, did your children want to learn, or they didn't mind not to know that the sign language?
They wanted to learn, so that's how Jordan did, and it's like on me as a parent not to teach them. And that's one of the things that Rand's always said is that he wished that he was able to communicate with my dad. And so when my dad passed away a couple of years ago, that's the thing that he still talks about to this day is that he really wished that I would have taught him sign language and that he was able to communicate with my dad. I think it's very, very important if you have not just ASL, but even any culture, any language, to teach the kid both languages for sure.
That's true because I I speak both Farsi and English, right? English is my second language, and I spoke when my two daughters were small. They learned Farsi from my mother, and they understand, but they don't speak fluently
Hmm.
because I guess in one part I was lazy too, because it's
Hmm.
easier just to say in English, right? Because since they went to school. So I blame it on myself not to, continue talking Farsi with them. Sometimes I do, but I don't make them to talk Farsi with me. They just answer in English. So I guess, yeah, it has to go
Yeah,
both
I
ways.
agree. I blame my own self for them not knowing it because I should have been the one to teach them as the parent.
Yeah, continue. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Elaine, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a couple again, if you don't mind. The first question is kind of a selfish one in that if one wanted to be in your ASL network but has not studied yet, is there a program that you would recommend? And how long do the studies take? Is it about a 2-year program to become fluent?
I don't think it's that long. It's not because if you learn the basic ASLs, you can actually get through a conversation pretty well. And so if you there's a lot of online classes. So Rocky Mountain Deaf School was the one is out here in Colorado, but they actually started after COVID because they got shut down. They started a an online Zoom. So I bet other people in other states can actually go onto theirs, and I think it's Tuesday nights. Um, but I would say within probably 9 months, you would be 6 to 9 months, you'd be able to get just the gist of ASL enough to be there. And anybody can be in our ASL network. You do not you do not have to or like know ASL to be in the network because there's not a lot of them out there. So we need agents around that aren't even in it because there's not. It's very hard to find one that actually signs.
Okay.
So anybody wants to be in that, just go ahead and email me and I'll add you on the affinity group.
Okay. That's good to know. I must have been not clearly understanding you didn't teach your kids ASL, or
I did not.
they did not go to school. So how did they communicate with your mom and dad? Did you translate?
Yep, I did. Adrian or Rian took ASL in high school as like the language, and I was one who told him to take it. And then they didn't provide it when Jordan was in school. She's 33 now. And then but no, I would always translate like for them to my parents, yeah.
Well, and the hardest part for me to fully understand, and of course I never will because I currently have my hearing, but how do they learn ASL? Well, particularly blind and deaf, when there's no external. I mean, again, I go back to reading about Helen Keller and how does one get that first message across about this is a drop of water on your hand? So
I know.
how did your parents or how does any person that is hard of hearing or deaf actually look? There must be something beautiful that happens in that communication and how they
Yeah,
study
and
and then absorb it.
they have teachers, and then we have a deaf school here. Both my parents actually went to boarding school. So they back then they would put the kids in boarding school, and so that's where they learned ASL. And and that's a very good question because my grandparents didn't know ASL. And so I always often wonder how my mom and dad learned it when they were like 2 or 3, or how they communicated with them. And that was what I think my purpose of saying that it's very isolating for them because you can't talk to your parents, you can't talk to your siblings at all, and so I think it's very 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 important, for my own opinion, for parents, if you have a deaf or hard of hearing child, to learn their language, like because I mean, they have to be able to communicate with somebody. Because imagine just being in a world not being able to talk to anybody.
Right. I have a little grandson. He's 14 months old now, and my sister did the same thing with her children, teaching basic. A lot of parents are doing that with infants, right? They
Hmm.
teach them how to say more and milk and water and all the basic things that they need because they don't have words yet. And they pick that up. But through, I guess, seeing, again, someone who's lost their hearing but can see, you could say milk and they could drink the milk and you would understand I guess, how to spell. But
How to
anyway,
spell, yeah.
for my little brain, it just seems so intense.
Well, and just like if you say eat and you get food, then you know that you're eating something. Like that means, okay, I want food, I want to eat. One thing I can think of.
A lot
Yeah.
of young parents actually nowadays use, I don't think it's the official ASL, but they do use signs with their.
That's what I was saying with my grandson. Yeah, I mean, they're literally, I screwed up because the milk sign I was doing was breast milk. And I didn't know that's what he meant. So he wanted his mom, not me. And I get it. And they were like, no, 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 that
That's
doesn't,
awesome.
he doesn't want a bottle. He wants
We
her.
don't want a bottle.
He wants boob time. Give, right. So
Boob
anyway,
time.
yeah. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Tamer?
Hi, thank you very much for having this session. This is great. When I got the invitation for the call, it reminded me again that I had promised myself a while back, due to a couple of incidents that happened to me that left me kind of traumatized. I need to learn sign language. I need to learn sign language. So I got the invitation for this call, and I went to my favorite AI, and I said, create a plan for me to start learning sign language. And it gave me some resources, what to do. And as usual, I ask me questions. And about 15, 20 minutes a day is what my plan should start at. And it says within 6 months, I should be okay having a little good command of specifically in the real estate business. And it gave me a few resources. And I wanted to ask you about a couple of these resources, if they are good, or if you have any other better resources than that.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Uh, the first one was, it first asked me, do you want ASL or the BSL, which is British, or another regional sign language? So my first question is, what is another regional sign language? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, so C or C it's called, so SEE, and that is where it's proper English. So when you sign, it's kind of like Spanish. So we say things opposite is what I call it. And so ASL actually would be the easiest and the best to learn, number one, but the SEE is where you speak like direct English. Like you cannot do that instead of you can't do that. And
Okay.
yeah, so that, and then British is obviously their language. So if you're in America, I would do the ASL version.
Okay, terrific. The the second thing was, again, I saw you nodding, so 15 to 20 minutes a day should, within 6 months, get me, if I stick to that, get me to
Oh
the
yes, yeah, for sure. So it's not, and that's what I was saying about before. It's not going to take like a year or two at all. I would say 6 to 9 months, and 15 to 20 minutes a day is perfect because once you know the sign, like, does anyone remember me doing thank you? Who was on the other calls? Yeah. So once you know the sign, it's easy to retain. And so, but I think just learning the sign is the only thing that you would really need to retain and practicing it because obviously you can forget it later on, but if you just practice what you already know, like thank you, you're welcome, the signs don't really vary. And a lot of the signs mean the same thing too. So if you're saying like a sentence and you're doing like a book or like um I was trying to think of one that's like the same. Like chocolate is also like caramel. So like a lot of the signs are the same things, but how you know the difference is when you're talking it or not, or like reading it is how you know the difference from caramel or to chocolate. And so that makes it a little bit easier too. So I think that just starting and getting there is what like will make you retain the stuff.
right. Another
Just
thing was,
trying.
absolutely. I like that motto as Bob mentioned it. The other thing also suggests a couple of apps and a couple of video on YouTube. So ASL Bloom versus the ASL app. Any preference? Are you
Um,
familiar with any of them?
I've heard of
Mhm.
ASL Bloom often, so that one's probably a good one. I haven't heard of the other one, but ASL Bloom, I know a lot of clients have used that.
Okay. And Bill Vickers, ASL University.
Oh yes, I've actually heard of that.
Okay. So I'm on the right track then.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're on the right text.
Good.
Chat GPT.
Claude, I use
Oh,
Claude
you
is
use Claude.
much better, much better.
I'll have to write
Uh,
that down, Claude.
yeah.
Okay.
And then there was something, it says there is something called the ASL coffee time. Is that
No,
something like within networks, or
I have
is there
actually not heard of that, but I need to.
how
I'm
about
with a lot of deaf communities, but
any social events that are happening on a regular basis that one can attend where I can practice instead of practicing in front of a mirror?
yeah, there's what state are you in, or where are you at?
Pennsylvania. I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. I could try to find some outsources for that area. I'm gonna write that down so I can
Yeah,
um
that'd be
because there is, and then there's a Deaf Expo that is they have small ones every year. I think this year's in Chicago, so it's called Deaf Expo. And then so every 2 years though is the huge one. They just had one in July in Las Vegas, and that is a very big community for all of the deaf and hard of hearing outlets. That would be a huge one to go to. They haven't planned the 20, so it'd be 2027 for that one, but they do have smaller ones every year. So I can send you some information on that as well.
okay. And that's the part of the personal one, but I know we're about time, but a last question for you. In hearing you recount your experience as a child, it reminded me of many of the clientels uh, that I encounter. In Lancaster, we have the headquarters of the biggest organization that brings refugees from all over the world, Church World Services, it's called. So we have everybody. There is a war somewhere, somebody's coming from there.
Oh, that's nice.
And one of the uh, main common thing that I see is children walking with their parents to apply for school, to talk about buying a home, to translate with the landlord, stuff like that. Have you heard the same stories? Is that the same experience that you had growing up as those children that happen to grow up faster, that are dealt with, and as adults, they are immersed into adult conversations way before they mature?
Yeah, for sure. And I was the one always interpreting for my parents ever since I was little. So I think that's what made me grow up faster and made me give me the patience and the communication stuff that I do have because it was when I was younger. Like I even for parent teacher conferences, for the doctor's appointments, all that stuff, I was the one as a child having to interpret that. And so I think that that's what made I think me more like compassionate towards a lot of people because I saw like it can't feel good as I would think as a parent to have to
It does
rely
not.
on their children. And
It does
so
not.
and that's huge like how it was. Well, now technology and interpreting has come such a long way right now versus back in the day. But back when I was a child, there was none. And so we were always the one who has to help the parents. And I think that makes them not feel like this is the wrong word, but like not feel like they're our parent. And so to them, it makes them feel more, I think, conscious in a way because they are providing for us, but not in that way. And so I think that it makes us as kids grow up fast which is fine, thank God, because I was a teen mom. So that helps because I already knew how to be an adult and a parent by then.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And,
Yeah, thank you so much.
So important question. If some of us learn sign language, will you give us our new sign names?
Yes, I will for sure.
Because back, with this group of friends, I wanted, this to be my sign, and they said it was this. So
What is
Because you were
what is
boring?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
we're
Well,
like,
they were
they
very
knew what they
snide.
were getting at.
Yeah, they were very snide. Yeah.
Yes, I'll give all of you guys your own sign
and
names.
Bob,
Yeah.
what was your desired sign name? What is
I wanted them to say I was handsome.
Oh,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
handsome.
And they're like,
you got boring.
they're like, no.
Boring.
And so they were very funny people. Yeah. So
Oh, that's cute.
yeah.
You could combine the two.
Yeah.
Handsome and boring.
Yeah. I think
We can
now
start here.
I'm gonna get this now. I think that would be it.
That seems self-explanatory there.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Well, listen, Maria, I really appreciate your presence here and joining us. We aspire to do exactly what you personified today, is to be vulnerable, to go deep, and to really get outside of our comfort zone and learn something new. And your book is it's so helpful in that camp. So again,
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the support and love.
And best of luck with future success. You're on your number one bestseller now.
Yeah, on Amazon. I got top new release within 24 hours on Amazon. And then now I've still been Amazon like switches, so you like are at 2 one day and then 1 for a week. So, but I've been still holding the bestseller so far as of this morning.
It's great.
I haven't checked yet.
You have the hardcover coming out. You have the Audible
Mhm.
version. So and a lot of stuff. It sounds like in the pipeline too.
I just looked it up, Maria. I see that it's on Amazon UK, so I'm going to send it to my family.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so
That'll
much.
help me bump up if I drop down a little bit.
How do we get a signed copy?
I can, if you guys send me your addresses, I can just send
Do you
one
mind
out
if
to
I
you guys.
just email out the group and let them know how to contact you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect. And I think you guys have the book link in there too, but yeah, just let me know and I can send you guys some.
All right, I'll follow up with the recording of this call and your details, Maria. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad.
Sure. You bet.
Thank you.
And happy
We
Thanksgiving.
should close with how do we say
Happy
thank you again?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
In-
Thank you.
That's right.
And then this is I love you. And it's a
Okay.
universal one. So you can say it to anybody.
Is there a
So it's because it's I, so this is I, and then this is L, and this is you. So it's I, and then love you.
Is there a happy Thanksgiving?
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. That one's easy. So happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks again, everybody.
All right, bye guys. Thank you.